guys, what's going on? It's Jay the Reporter coming at y'all post-game style. Now, I kind of want to go ahead and get things started. I need to go ahead and send out my invite here. I am taking things in the comment section, so guys, please feel free and jump in the comments, share the stream, stuff like that. But I'm gonna go ahead now and send my boy this invite real quick to get his breakdown on everything. And also, since I'm doing a little bit of house cleaning stuff right now, housekeeping stuff, I guess is a better way to call it. Thank y'all for the support on the YouTube tip. We're so close to 1K. I appreciate that for everybody I've seen personally who subscribed versus those who just went on ahead and did it themselves. I want to thank y'all so much. We're so close to 1K. I think about maybe 15 subs away. So I thank y'all for the continued support in that. And so what we're gonna do here, like I said, I'm gonna try to add my boy to the broadcast real quick. What's good, my boy? Still holding it down over there at VZ Dub, or you hung it up over there too? Actually, man, if you want to talk about it, bro, I can go ahead and add you into the stream if you want. Yeah, I had to get up out of there. I think you know the reasons why, though. I had to get up out of there. My money was not looking right. I had to bounce on them. But this is kind of talking about the game. What I saw, and then like I said, if you guys want to join in, please feel free to continue to blow up in the comment section as well. But what I noticed in this game, it was very much like the Carolina-Denver Super Bowl. Very much like the Carolina-Denver Super Bowl. That was a game that was won on the edges. Like, you can still, like, that game was won there. What you were able to do with the 2-star defensive ends, guys who are known quarterback eaters, guys who are known to get there, and then you're also coming out there with 3 guys on the O-line playing out of position. I mean, things that you don't want to happen in like, there was no tomorrow. That's something that's been said in football games, especially in playoffs. There's no tomorrow. You got to give it your all. And I can say Kansas City gave it their all. I can say that by looking at it from a different point of view. For people who are saying the refs hold them for the most part, I don't agree with that at all. They really didn't. It's the same situation, like I said, it's Carolina-Denver Super Bowl. They didn't lose that way. How they lost was poor play on the tackles, not being able to control the blitz, and then on top of that, they didn't change how they played offensively, and that makes a lot. That is a lot right there. So when you have a offensive player like a Tyreek Hill who can take top off a defense, and they're going too high, you know you're not going to be able to go deep because at that point they're playing levels. So if you're going to sit there, you're going to play levels. You can't necessarily make the plays that you're used to making, especially when you know you're not going to have enough time back there in the pocket. So the way that they wanted to play it, I don't believe was the best way for them to. So with that being the case, they didn't really adjust well in many situations. Patrick Mahomes, once he got hit a few times, kind of spun himself out of control. He really didn't have much balance going on. I didn't really feel like he had a lot of balance going on. And that wound up hurting them. They didn't stick to the run when it was still a close game. It was just 21-6. You still could have stuck to the run. And I believe giving it to Edwards-Helaire, you could have made a little bit more of a dig in, make that the case, make that the focus, and then use that to get your receivers open. But when you're coming out and you're gunning it the whole time on a quarterback on a gimped leg, it makes it extremely difficult to be able to do anything. Now, with this being the case and how the game was being played, for people who said it was on the refs, there were some bad calls. Do not get me wrong. There were some very, 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 very bad calls in this game. A couple of pass interference penalties that I just would have let them play. Some defensive holdings where you just let the guys play, let them earn it. And I do believe that, yes, the refs had a lot to do with it. Now, a couple of cases where I say they didn't was one of them was where Chris Jones gets the personal foul penalty. Not personal foul, but like the all the unnecessary reference penalty, whatever. That penalty, okay, I get it. It's chippy. It's a Super Bowl. I probably don't call that unless it starts to get out of control. Let that be like, hey, look, next time I see this, flag. But when you're looking at how things are really rolling, I'm looking at those 2 pass interference penalties to end the first half. Those changed everything. Because at that point, it was just 14-6, 1-score game. So with that being the case, I'm looking at that pass interference penalty on the side of the field where Evans was. That I don't like. He was barely touched. Ball was uncatchable. I don't throw that flag. Going down the middle of the field in the back of the end zone, ball's uncatchable. It's at the ball was parallel to the field goal bar. Outside of Calvin Johnson, there's no other receiver going up to grab something that high. Not happening. So with that being the case, uncatchable ball, I don't throw that flag. Now, those 2 penalties make the score, instead of it being 14-6, it's now 21-6, 2-score game, and you're coming out of the half. And they came out of the half, they were moving the ball pretty well, then they got stonewalled, kicked for 3, and then from there, the defense just kind of let them down because they let them pretty much walk it right down the field. Now, where KC lost this game was definitely, like I said, in the penalty department, because you can't. It's tough to win a game where you have more penalty yards than you had offense at one point. I think it was 98 penalty yards in the first half, and a Super Bowl record, mind you, 98. This is a team that wasn't penalized that much in the regular season or even throughout the postseason. So I don't believe that if I play 17 games, right? I play 17 games. 17, no, 17, I think it's more like 20. Play 20 games, right? And out of those 20 games, 19 of them we play a certain way, and the refs aren't calling it. Now I'm in this one game, and the refs are throwing everything on us. That takes you mentally out of the game. Makes it darn near impossible to get things done. I don't necessarily appreciate how things went for him. Now, granted, what I also wanted to see was a little bit more of a, I want to see a little bit more out of him offensively for KC. Once you're down 2-3 scores, let it go. Throw the ball deep. Take chances. Something. Not a lot of chances were taken. And that winds up biting you in the foot. A lot of cases. Now, all congrats go out Tampa Bay. They played the game the way they needed to play it. They took the chances that KC didn't. They shoved the ball down the field, something KC didn't. They stuck to the run, something KC didn't. Now, there were some points they were gifted. I'm not going to sit here and deny it. They were gifted some points. They were gifted, I think, with 2 touchdowns in the first half of penalties that I wouldn't have called. In the Super Bowl, I believe you earn it. I don't believe those points were necessarily earned. But even if you take those 14 points away, it's still 9-17, which does change play calling, don't get me wrong, but it's still a lead. Now, going forward, where do we go from here? If you're KC, where do you go from here? You know you have a team that can get you there. This team won it a year ago. So clearly they won it a year ago. They got back this year. They fell short. What do they do? Okay, here's what KC needs to do. In this draft, I just draft for depth. There's really nothing they need. There's no need. I draft for depth. O-line, D-line, places of attrition. Skill position players, you have them. You can pick them up wherever they'll be. A receiver's a dime a dozen nowadays. But when you go in, you're looking now. I'm looking at this in a totally different fashion. You have Kansas City, who is I say right now in the AFC, one step ahead of the Buffalo Bills. But I do believe Buffalo's going to come back a lot stronger because they're not going to be as hurt. The O-line, this is a young team in Buffalo. This isn't an older team. This is a young team in Buffalo. So I believe they can actually run this back. Now, KC, I believe, can get back next year. But the window is not as open as people believe it is to be. Because now, like I said, after next year, that cap shrinks a little bit on KC. Because they still got the contract of Patrick Mahomes that takes hold after next season. Because that contract he signed was an extension off of the one he's currently in. He had 2 years left on his deal, with this year counting as the first of those two. So with that being the case, you got 1 year window before your money starts to matter in KC, and you may have to let guys go or move pieces around or cut guys' funds. And at that point, you may lose a guy, maybe like a Tyreek Hill, because his contract's only got 2 years left on it as well. So you kind of need to move pieces around or figure out how you're going to be able to pay him and keep other pieces on the team. Now, that's just looking forward. So if I'm KC, I draft for depth at certain positions. Definitely on the O-line, because you know how much you like to drop back. When you drop back, you're beating up your O-line. O-lines like to move forward. That's why the teams that run the ball a lot, like Baltimore, don't have injuries up front. But when you pass the ball a lot, like a Kansas City, you put yourself in situations where your O-line's getting beat up because they're getting attacked. So with that being the case, I'm drafting O-line. I'm possibly going defense. Possibly. But really not looking to do too much there. Now, if I'm Tampa Bay, where do I go? You could draft pretty much anything. I mean, you have your running backs, you have your wide receivers, your defense is stout. I'm not sure if Ndamukong Suh is going to be back next year, so what I would do is I would possibly draft a defensive end, defensive tackle, something up front, as well as JPP getting up there in age as well, so probably go D end or D tackle first round. After that, looking to add depth at other positions, O-line, maybe some more pieces in the secondary that could be necessary. Antoine Winfield Jr. did great this year. Probably would have been Defensive Rookie of the Year in my eyes. Of course, he didn't get it. But just looking at how this whole thing matriculates with Tampa, I believe going forward, if Brady comes back next year, a lot of people saying that if he wins, he's gone. Honestly, Brady is the new Brett Favre. I don't know what the hell this man is about to do. All right, no one knows what this man is about to do. But what I'm going to tell you is right now is that if he comes back, can they run it back? And now in that division, it's theirs to lose. I don't believe New Orleans is going to be New Orleans next year. And I don't care who they put at quarterback, unless they make a move to get a guy there. I don't necessarily think that they're in a position to win. Now, so that basically puts Tampa at the top of that division, automatically getting a playoff bid. Who's challenging Tampa in the NFC? Let's take a look. You got Seattle. They need to be refreshed offensively. They got figured out, and it showed. Once, I think it was after the Arizona game, they got figured out. They weren't really the same team. They weren't scoring at the same pace. They weren't able to do the same things offensively, and it showed. That's why they lost to a bad LA Rams team. Not really bad. I'll say hurt. A hurt LA Rams team. Now, granted, it is a divisional opponent. No one knows you better than the guy who stays next door to you. That's typically what your divisional opponents are. So they know you pretty well. They know how to stop what you like to be able to do. But it still doesn't mean that you shouldn't be able to do it to an extent, and they weren't able to. So do I think Seattle can challenge for them? Maybe, but they need to be refreshed offensively. And what they would need to do is draft on defense. They're a little short there. I would probably go there. And also up front, the O-line. But they always need O-line help in Seattle. Now, that's Seattle. That's one squad. The Rams, given the fact they just got Matt Stafford, I think they're a challenger there. I believe they're a challenger there. Strong arm quarterback and get the ball down the field. I like what I see there. So I think LA can actually challenge them. They have the defense to be able to stick with them. So I like LA a little bit better than I like Seattle at this point. At this point. Because LA was a decent quarterback away from making a pretty good run in the postseason. Now, the one team everyone was looking at, the Green Bay Packers. I think that team is one very bad comment and an extremely short fuse away from blowing up. I don't like what I see there either. So that's pretty much what we're looking at there. Now, with that being said, if Brady comes back, I believe Tampa can run it back. I seriously do believe Tampa can run it back. Only way they don't is if by some miracle Tampa Bay gets it done. I mean, Tampa Bay, Green Bay finds a way to do it. It's the only team I believe that can hold a candle to what Tampa Bay can do offensively. Now, AFC side, it's a two-team race at this point. I do not believe in the Baltimore Ravens. I do not believe in my Pittsburgh Steelers to make a push against Kansas City or Buffalo. Not now. Buffalo's too good. They're too young. They're getting experience. They know how to win now. It's just important. Cleveland knows how to win now. That is important. I don't think people understand that winning, you have to know how to do that. You can't just put a bunch of talent on a team and say, hey, go and win. That's Madden logic. Doesn't work in the real world whatsoever. We've seen extremely talented teams do squat. Do terrible. Last year's Cleveland Browns, anybody? So with that being the case, I like teams that know how to win and have the ability to grow with it. Cleveland's young. They learn how to win. They can grow with it. Buffalo's young, knows how to win. They can grow with it. Same thing in KC. They've proven they can win already. I think a healthy KC, healthy O-line in KC, this is a different game. Because with Mahomes needing time, I'm going to get back to this game. With Mahomes needing time in the pocket, he needs at least 3 seconds. At least 3. He was getting that. In the first half of their meeting in week 12, he was getting the time. But he didn't get it tonight, and it showed. When you can pressure, I don't care who your quarterback is, when you can pressure them and keep them on a very short leash defensively, then you control what they do. They had him frustrated, they had him flustered, he couldn't do anything, and he basically broke down in many cases where he didn't need to. He ran back 10 or 15 yards when he didn't need to. In many cases, especially when you have your edges and you know your edges are weak, you pretty much know what you need to do. Step up into the pocket because you're still good at guard, you're still good at center, which means that the front of your O-line is straight. So if you step into that, then you should be fine. But the minute you go trailing, running around outside, keep in mind, you have a guard playing left tackle for you, and then you have basically a backup playing right. It's not how you get things done. So when you do things like that and you ignore your O-line's strength at that point, which is just up front in the middle, you take yourself out of a ball game. And that's basically what he did by basically getting flustered, moving out of the pocket a little bit too much. Now, as I said earlier, another way to kind of help Patrick Mahomes, since he was on a bum leg, bring the routes down. Clearly, you're not going to get him over the top. They were going too high safety the entire game. And not even too high. We're talking too high. Like, this is Snoop Dogg levels of high that these safeties were sitting at. Basically about 20 yards off the offense, off the line of scrimmage. So with that being the case, bring the routes down. Go underneath. Do some pick routes. Cut underneath. Get Tyreek Hill in space. They didn't do that. And it cost them offensively. In many cases where all they had to do was just some smaller dink and dunks. Maybe take a page out of the Pittsburgh Steelers book. When you know you can't really get that pressure around the sides, hit it quick. Get your guys in space. Let your playmakers make plays, especially when your quarterback is hobbled. Instead of doing that, you put him in situations where he's in 5-step drops with bad tackles. A 5-step drop with bad tackles is a guaranteed pressure every single time you drop back. Because by the time he's at his 5th step, guess who's meeting him? You got JPP on one side meeting him pretty much the entire game, as well as Shaq Barrett right there meeting him the entire game. And it showed with the 2 interceptions. 3 sacks, lost 27 yards on those. They didn't commit to the run. They had success running, didn't commit to the run. Had 107 yards rushing. 64 of those was Edwards-Helaire. 33 of that was Patrick Mahomes, and then D. Williams and Tyreek Hill got the rest of that. But the way I'm looking at this team, like I said, they're the most talented offense in the NFL. Probably next to Tampa Bay at this point. Because I'm just looking now on Gronk if he comes back. Fournette, Evans, Cameron Brate, Antonio Brown, Chris Godwin. what do you prepare? How do you prepare yourself for that kind of thing? So with that being the case, I'm really thinking they might be able to run this back come next year. I seriously believe they can be able to run this back. Now, with them being able to run this back, how I'm looking at it is there's really no challenger in the NFC other than Green Bay that's going to be able to beat Tampa. Like I said, New Orleans is completely eliminated. I don't like their quarterback situation. You're not beating Tampa without a quarterback. And not this Tampa team. Keep in mind, this is a team that they didn't lose a game at this point. Since week 12, they didn't lose a game. They had the latest bye, which I know helped, especially with Brady struggling at that point. They were 7-5 at that point. 7-5. Then they rolled themselves into the postseason on a 4-game win streak. And some of them were ugly wins, including that Atlanta game. But when you're coming in riding a high, it's a lot easier to be able to, chunk out some more wins, and especially when you get the easier first playoff opponent being the Washington football team. The easier playoff opponent, then going against Breeze, didn't really look all that good. Then Aaron Rodgers basically gifted you a trip to the Super Bowl because you threw 3 picks in the fourth quarter, gifted him. He basically said, I don't want it, you have it. It was like that scene in Barbershop, I don't want the money, you keep it. That's exactly what he did with the trip to the Super Bowl. I don't want to go, you keep it. It's a home game for you, Tom, you do that. Now, a lot of history was made in this game. Personal history for Tom Brady. Something I didn't know until it actually happened. I didn't know they didn't score a first quarter touchdown in the other 9 Super Bowls that he was in. I didn't know that until it actually came up. I was like, dang, he really did score a touchdown. So it happens. He got his first one. I know Tom just won his MVP in this Super Bowl, just announced a few minutes ago. Trying to remember what number that was for him. But as far as how things completely work out, I'm looking at Tampa Bay in a way that if this team next, just say Brady hangs it up, this is a prime job for whoever just needs a shot from the quarterback position. Like a team that's like, you know what, we're going to move on with a different guy. That's now a prime spot for a quarterback to say, you know what, I'm going there. They got talent. The coaching staff is A1. Keep in mind, these two teams between KC and Tampa, they're retaining their coaching staffs. From what I know, no one has taken a job. No one. So these teams are bringing it all back. There's a good chance we see this as a repeat matchup come next year. I know a lot of people don't want to see that. Some people don't. I wouldn't mind seeing it if KC's healthy. If KC's healthy, I would not mind seeing it. I wouldn't mind it. But if they come in hobble on the line just like they were this year, it's going to be ugly. I don't like it. I wouldn't trust it at all. But from what I know, this team in Tampa, one of the best that I've seen do it pole to pole. They hit this team, as far as the struggle from where they had to go, reminds me a lot of that 2005 Pittsburgh Steelers team. The one that had to win their way in, like go on a crazy run of winning, got there. And then with a little help from the officials, a little bit, wound up getting the dub. I said, do I believe that KC can KC get back and beat this team? Yes. If you can beat them once, you can beat them more than once. That's how I look at that. So with KC coming out and getting beaten like this, sometimes you need a loss like this. Because another statistic a lot of people want to focus on before, Patrick Mahomes hasn't lost a game by double figures since he was at Texas Tech. So basically his entire pro career hasn't lost a game by more than 10 points. He got mollywopped in this one. Humbled in this one. Sometimes you need that real good swift kick in the ass to get right. And that's what I believe they got here. That real swift kick, now they got to get it right. I believe the most dangerous team coming in next year is going to be the Kansas City Chiefs. Because unlike other teams that lost in the Super Bowl, they didn't get hot and get there. They were the best team rolling in. So it's not like they were like, oh, not like they're the LA Rams of a couple of years ago that got hot and got there, or Philly that got hot and got there. No, this is a team that was really, 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 really good coming in. That when the preseason started, people were basically writing in ink Kansas City on the AFC side. The NFC, you could have pretty much taken any division winner outside the NFC East and that dumpster fire of a division. But you could have taken, if you told me, hey, New Orleans made the Super Bowl, I can believe you. Hey, Green Bay made the Super Bowl, I can believe you. You know what? Seattle got that together and they made the Super Bowl. You know what? I believe you. So with that being the case, I can see any other team representing the NFC next year. But if I had to put a team in early, it would be Tampa. Now, I'm getting ready to wrap this whole thing up by, once again, thanking you all for the continued support. Like I say, this is an individual kind of a thing. I get a little bit of help here and there from my lady. She kind of puts me on the straight and narrow when it comes down to how I curate my content and how I post it. Because I was very heavy on the YouTube side, but I ignored Facebook, I ignored TikTok, I ignored my Instagram, and I paid for it by not hitting certain goals that I wanted to hit in my first year. But nonetheless, with renewed focus, like I said in the halftime video I did, at halftime portion of this game, I am bringing back the Halftime Adjustment podcast. And what I will be doing, I'm going to try my best to link up with guests. I do owe a favor to a good friend of mine, Red Sinatra. I'm going to be linking up with him, bringing him on the podcast. I just featured on the Gift Game podcast. So shout outs to my boy on that one. So just kind of be on the lookout for what we got coming down the pipe here at the Halftime Adjustment. I will be bringing back the podcast, as I said before. I'm going to try to do more content for TikTok and stuff like that. So give me a follow on that. Clearly it's going to be at the Halftime Adjustment on there. Same thing on Instagram. Clearly already watching on Facebook. But if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and do so. I think we're about 15 subscribers away from hitting that goal. So on YouTube at the Halftime Adjustment. The link should be on the bio page of my Facebook page. But let me know what you guys thought about this game in the comment section on this video. My name's been Jay the Reporter, signing out. Peace.